She may not be born yet, but she is certainly keeping us on our toes. This Valentine's Day did not go as planned. Hi, my name is Kayla Barreto. Welcome to our channel. This is Bible with the Barretos. My husband and I are missionaries in South America, and we post biblical content, videos about us as missionaries, and now starting videos as us as a family on the mission field. And so today I'm going to give you the latest update. So I am currently about 38 weeks pregnant. And our sweet baby girl decided to give us a scare on Valentine's Day. In the last video, which was kind of my hospital bag packing, I mentioned that she gave us a scare on New Year's Eve as well, because on New Year's Eve I started having contractions and I was only at about 31 weeks pregnant, so it was still really early. And New Year's Eve, we spent about 13 hours at the hospital as they worked to control and stop the contractions. Praise God, they were able to do that. Well, apparently, this sweet little baby girl does not like holidays, because when Valentine's Day rolled around, she decided to spend over 24 hours without moving. Like, I felt zero movement whatsoever. And I've been doing like the Count the Kicks app. I know that movement is one of the first kind of signs that there could be something wrong. Now, it doesn't always mean that, but it's something that in that third trimester, they always tell you, be aware of your child's movements. And like, I know she is usually the most active from about 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then from about 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Those are kind of her most active moments. And I don't know why, but those tend to be her most active moments. And then throughout the day, like right now, it's close to 10, so she's actually moving quite a bit. She's been kicking and pushing. And then throughout the day, like if it's 2 p.m, I might feel her once or twice in the hour, but like I won't necessarily notice the constant movement. But what was weird was that on Valentine's Day, and this actually started the day before, so on the 13th of February, I hardly felt her at all from about 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. And then at 10 p.m., I laid down to go to bed. And that's normally like when I lay down, she just decides it's party time and she starts moving up a storm. But that night, like I hardly felt her at all. And then for some reason that night, I just could not sleep well. So I woke up, I was awake. I probably slept from maybe 10 to midnight. And then I was awake almost the rest of the night. Now, it's possible that that could have been part of what caused her not to move as much, because if I was tired, I don't know what the effect on babies is, but maybe it made her more tired, but I didn't feel her at all that night. And normally I wake up multiple times throughout the night at this point, and normally when I wake up at 2 a.m., she's kicking up a storm. At 3 a.m., she's kicking up a storm. And so it was just weird that I woke up at about midnight and was awake till about 6 a.m. Like I might have dozed a little bit, but I just could not sleep. And every time that I was awake, I didn't feel her move. And so when I woke up in the morning, or I guess got out of bed, I was still awake. But when I got out of bed at about 6 in the morning, 6:30, I was very vigilant to just wait and see. So at that point, I wasn't really nervous, wasn't really worried. I mean, I hadn't slept well, and so we just waited, and I didn't feel her movement at all that morning. And at about 10 a.m., we started church service, and so we're currently doing church online on Zoom, and this Sunday, which was the 13th, or no, it was the 14th, it was Valentine's Day, my husband was actually in charge of helping to lead communion, and so my husband was leading communion, and I was just sitting there praying and did communion, enjoyed that time together, enjoyed worship together. And as we worshiped, just continued to pray. I remember my husband kind of leaning over and kind of kissing my belly and just talking to her and trying to get her to move, and nothing. We could not, she didn't move. I didn't feel her. And so after church had ended, it was probably about noon, and I still hadn't felt her. So by this time, I had been awake almost since midnight and hadn't felt her from midnight to noon. So that was about 12 hours, and that's when I started saying, something's not right. Like, she's not moving properly. And so we ended up calling, we have kind of a home health, I guess, doctor that comes and does home visits. And so we ended up calling them and just telling them the story. So you do the online phone triage. And so we explained I was about 37 weeks pregnant, had not felt the baby move in almost 12 hours. It just didn't feel right. And so they had us do a couple things to try to get her to move. They said, okay, talk to her, play music, get up and dance, get up and move. Try kind of pushing on your tummy a little bit and see if you can get her to kind of push back. I mean, obviously I wasn't like shoving on my stomach, but try to see if you can get a reaction out of her. Put ice. They literally had me cover my entire stomach with ice. So I had ice packs on both sides. I had a frozen water bottle right where I know her head is. And so they had me put ice for about 30 minutes. Nothing. She didn't move. And so at that point, we were on that phone call and they said, have you felt any movement? And we had been on that phone call for probably about 40 minutes. And we said, no, nothing at all. And so they sent a doctor out. And he arrived within 15 minutes of hanging up that phone call. And so he came and we were sitting right here on this couch. He had me lay down and my husband was standing right here in this corner, actually, just watching and praying. And the doctor used a stethoscope, which stethoscopes aren't the easiest to hear a baby's heartbeat. It's not the best tool to use, but it's what he had. And he spent almost an hour. It was between 40 minutes and an hour, and he would just move the stethoscope from one place to another. And obviously, as I'm like watching him move, I go, okay, he's not staying in one place. In my mind, I realized he's not finding the heartbeat. And I just kept breathing and praying and praying. And after about 40 minutes, he said, I can't find a heartbeat. So we have an ambulance outside and we're going to head to the hospital. And so first ever ride in an ambulance. Never had I ever been in an ambulance. Can't say that anymore. And thankfully they allowed my husband to come with me. And so headed to the hospital on the 14th. To make a long story short, after various tests and things like that, they did an ultrasound. And during the ultrasound, they could see her heart beating. And I got to hear her heartbeat. And I tell you, that is the most incredible and precious sound. When I heard her heartbeat, 143 beats a minute, I still remember. When I heard her heartbeat, it just was an instant sense of peace of she's still okay. She's okay. And so heard her heartbeat. On the ultrasound, they could see her breathing, but there was no other fetal movement. And so they actually wrote 0 out of 10 on the movement scale. And that still didn't necessarily bring peace to my heart, but they did other types of monitoring and things like that. And since that was the only thing that was wrong, they ended up sending us home that day. And so there were no other signs of distress. I was not in distress. My blood pressure was fine. Her heartbeat was at a normal rate. It stayed, so in I think a 30-minute monitoring range, they have like a green zone and it stayed in the green zone. And so they sent us home and just said, be watchful. If anything changes, come back. And so we went home, and what was crazy was at about 10 o'clock that night, 10 o'clock on Valentine's Day, she started moving again. And she has not stopped moving since. So she is back to her normal patterns. We are so, so thankful. But the other crazy thing that happened during that appointment was that when we went, we found out that she is still in the breech position. So that means that her head is high, and that's not where it's supposed to be when you're nearing the end of a pregnancy. And so when we found that out, we ended up having an appointment scheduled, and we actually went to that appointment yesterday to talk to the doctor at the hospital where we're going to give birth. And unfortunately, because she's still not in the right position, it means that they scheduled a potential C-section. And so in the last video that we posted, you guys can check it out up here, we talked about how we had a baby bag or a hospital bag that we prepped. And the funny part of the hospital bag is that the hospital gave me a list, literally a list of 10 things that I'm allowed to bring for a normal birth. So this is my cute little 10 items or less bag. And if you're curious of what are the 10 items that they claim are necessary, deemed necessary for a birth, check out that video because I tell you, it's quite interesting. But we're also, in addition to the cute little 10 items that they allow us to have, we are also going to take, I'm going to show you guys, a duffel bag. So I've got my 10 items or less tucked in there. And then we've got other stuff that I'm taking so that I have some additional comforts. And so some of those I mentioned in the last video that you guys can check out, obviously. But a few additional things, since I know now it's probably going to be a C-section. We are still praying and hoping. She's still got 1 week to decide to flip herself around. And so we are still praying and hoping. But if that is not the plan, I am working on trusting God in that. We know that even when things don't go as we hope or we plan, that God is still in control, that He is on our side, and I can trust that He is taking care of us. One of my favorite Bible verses that I have just been clinging to during this time, and it's a verse that I have loved for a long time. It's Psalm 121, and I'm going to read it for you guys. It says, "I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore." And so I've been just trying to remember those promises, those assurances from His word, that He's not going to let my foot slip, that He's with me, that He's not going to sleep, that He's taking care of me and protecting me, that He's the shade, that He keeps me from harm. He keeps me from all harm, and He's watching over my life. So even though this isn't necessarily the plan, the idea that I had in mind for how we would bring our daughter into this world, that I know that God is watching out for me, that I know that God is taking care of me, that He's not sleeping on the job, that He is right by me, that I can trust that He has the best in mind for me, and that He's going to watch out for my baby girl too. There is only so much that a mom can do, and after that, we've just got to trust that God is protecting her and I as well. And so as we found out that that's potentially going to be the plan, I was like, so does my list of things to bring change? Because that means I'm probably going to be in the hospital for a little bit longer. And the funny thing, he goes, no, the same list. And I was like, I still only get my cute 10 items or less. So me being the over-planning, wanting to be prepared mama that I am, yes, I'm going to keep my cute little bag of 10 items or less that they supposedly allow me. But I'm now, like, in my mind planning, okay, they said I'm allowed one baby outfit. So I asked, I was like, how long is the stay normally? And I was actually surprised. They try to send you home even after a C-section between 12 and 24 hours. So we probably will only be there for about a day, but depending on how I recover, it might be a little bit longer. And so I'm sitting here thinking, and I was like, but they only allow me one outfit. What's the guarantee that she's not gonna spit up, or that outfit's not gonna get dirty in 24 hours or potentially longer, because you never know. And so I was like, I'm taking a few more outfits. So I just wanted to show, like I said, if you want to check out what we put in the bag to start with, go check out that video. But I wanted to show you guys what, in addition to what I had originally packed, now that I know that it's potentially going to be a C-section, what additional items I'm packing. So let's get started. One of the things that I'm packing is I am packing a few more onesies. So I'm actually going to pack 3 additional plain onesies. They're not cute, they're not fancy, but that way if something gets dirty, I've got 3 additional onesies that I know that I can keep her clean and sanitary and healthy. So I'm going to put a few more baby onesies in her side. And then I'm also going to take an additional like pajama for her. So on top of the onesie, it's kind of a fleece type material. That way she'll have something else to keep her warm. I don't know how cold the hospital is going to be, but if we're going to be there for more than 24 hours, I want to make sure that I've got something to keep her warm in addition to her blanket and things like that. I'm also taking some additional like clothing for me, some additional pairs of socks, an additional shirt. So I'm not taking a whole lot of clothing. It sounds to me like they don't really allow me to do a whole lot of changing, and so it sounds like I'll probably be in whatever their gown or robe is for the most part, but I do have a couple extra things just because I don't know how long I'm going to be there. So I have those. I'm also going to take some like burp cloths just in case I get messy or she gets messy. I just want something that I can easily clean or have with me, and so I'm going to have those. I'll have to pack that in a little bit. I'm also going to take a nursing cover. And the reason is, when I was there at that doctor's appointment yesterday, actually, I asked him, I was like, so after the C-section, when I go to recovery, I get a private room. Like, I'm in a room with my daughter and my husband, right? And he goes, oh, no, you're in the maternity ward. I was like, what does that look like? He goes, so there's curtains, but like all the mamas that have given birth are in the same room together. And you're just there in front of everyone and their spouses and all that. And so I don't know if the curtains are going to be closed, if I'm going to have any privacy. And so just for my personal sanity, I'm going to take a nursing cover just because I think I'll be a little bit more comfortable. So I've got that. I'm also taking a wet bag. So we do have cloth diapers, which we're not going to use in the hospital, obviously. But I'm going to take a wet bag just in case I have dirty clothes for her, for me. It just will keep the dirty laundry separate. So I've got that. I'm also taking some nursing pads. Again, don't know how long I'm going to be there. Don't know if that's going to be necessary, but it's something so small. I figured I would throw that in there. And then knowing that I'll probably be there a little bit longer, I'm taking a few extra snacks just to have some comfort foods. I brought these from the US the last time I was here, so I've got just some granola bars, some comfort, some fruit snacks, just some things that just will bring comfort to me that day. And then I forgot some extra socks for little baby girl too. But that's the addition. So I don't have a whole lot extra. Like if you think about it, the bag that I packed before is fairly minimalistic, and right now I'm just adding a few extra things just because we don't know exactly how long that stay is going to be. But we would love it if you guys would join with us in prayer that sweet baby girl flips herself around. When we go in next week, they will do one more ultrasound and see her position. So we have that scheduled ultrasound, or that scheduled C-section. But if when we go in, she's flipped herself around, then they'll send us home and allow us to kind of wait it out. If when we go in, she's still in the breech position, then I go in fasting. So I go in, I guess, ready for surgery, and they will do the C-section that day. So we're hoping and praying that she flips herself around. But like I said, still trusting that God's got me, that God is taking care of her and has what's best in mind for us. So we appreciate your prayers. We hope that you stick with us on this journey. I cannot wait to share with you what it actually ends up looking like that day in the hospital. We've asked a lot of questions and have a lot of information, but I won't know what it's like to give birth in Colombia, South America until I actually do. So I can't wait to share that story with you guys. If you want to follow this journey with us, It is a new adventure that we are on, but if you want to follow along with us, go ahead and subscribe down below and click the little bell notification so that you get updates every time that we post a video. That way you can follow along on this crazy international journey with us. But we appreciate you, and we cannot wait to see you in the next video.